Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 12th District Congressional Forum. My name is Eduardo Delgado. I'm actually the organizer for this whole event, and I'm glad to see so many people come out today and hear the candidates that are here to talk about the issues that many of you care about. So, for all of you that have had questions in, we're going through them now, and they'll be submitted in for the moderator to read. Our moderator tonight is Lindsay Gribble. She's a graduate assistant for the Political Science Club, or Political Science Department, sorry. And the candidates tonight that we have here are Francis Johnson. He's a Democrat running for the nomination for the 12th district, or 12th Congressional District of Georgia. And Trent is as well. He's a Democratic Congressional District candidate. And other people that were invited were Eugene Yu. He couldn't make it tonight. And Robert Ingham is somewhere. We don't know where he's at. These are the only two candidates that we have up right now, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And I just want to thank you for coming out and listening to the candidates.
Okay, before we get started, I'm just going to read off the procedural guidelines that were sent to each campaign, just so the candidates remember and the audience knows the structure for the evening. So each candidate will be allowed 1 minute and 30 seconds for an opening statement. The questions will consist of inquiries coming from GSU professors, political science students, and as well as some questions submitted here prior to the event. All candidates will be allowed to respond to each question asked. Responses are limited to 1 minute. 2 club members are present in the front of the auditorium to allow the candidates to know how much time they have left. They will hold up a yellow card to signify that they have 15 seconds left in their response, and a red card when their time has completed. Each candidate is then allowed a 2-minute closing statement and will be allowed to meet and greet the audience after the conclusion of the event. So with that, we will get started. And we will start with Trent answering the first question. In your undergraduate experience, was your major relating to politics, or had you set out to study something different and chose your political path after your undergrad?
I was undeclared, so I bounced around for 3 years trying to decide what I was going to do with my life, also juggling a construction company. So I decided to opt out of actually graduating and going into construction full time. So that's where my college experience went.
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you for being here. It's good to be back at Georgia Southern. I earned my undergraduate degree right here. I majored in political science and had a minor in Africana studies. I went from Georgia Southern to the University of Georgia Law School. I think I'm probably the unique candidate who has taken American government in this auditorium, taught American government in this auditorium, and debated another U.S. Senate candidate way back in the day right here on this stage. So I was very proud to be student body president. When I was here at Georgia Southern, I pledged Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated for all of the Greeks in the place. Just really excited to be back here. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but what I know that I knew when I first stepped on this campus was that the world as it was not acceptable, and that I wanted to use my life in some way to make it a better place.
We'll start. Okay. You can applaud. We'll start this round with Francis. What steps would you take to attract new businesses to Statesboro, including restaurants, shopping, hotels, entertainment, etc.?
Well, it's not just Statesboro. The 12th Congressional District encompasses 19 counties, or parts of 19 counties. It includes Augusta and Douglas and Statesboro and Swainsboro and Dublin and all points in between. And that's an amazing resource to leverage if we had the right leadership at the federal level. In order to attract the kinds of businesses that you all want as students, restaurants, a better mall, trust me, it's been the same since I came 20 years ago, you have to have a base of good, high-paying jobs. They will support the kinds of amenities that you are looking for and that are at the heart of that question. We don't have that leadership. Right now, big companies wanted to locate here. We don't have enough 4-lane highways. We don't have enough infrastructure, even high-speed internet. A full 30% of this district fades in and out of high-speed internet connectivity. And so if we want to attract the business, you've got to have someone in Congress who's working to put the infrastructure in place to make it attractive for businesses to want to locate here. We've got the talent. We should have the business. The only thing we're missing is the right congressman in the United States Congress.
All right now.
Mr. Eastman?
Being a small business owner right here on Main Street in Statesboro, I can tell you that currently we are under attack. The tax plan that we're seeing, and I just went to my accountant here in Statesboro, and he did a comparison between the old tax plan and our new tax plan. And guess who is under attack? Medium to small businesses. So that is how a congressman goes to D.C. and corrects this path that we're going. Because if you are burdening the small and the medium businesses, you can expect no growth. So these benefits to the top 2%, it's not going to make downtown Statesboro or downtown Augusta grow. So that's what we need, is a congressman that's going to go up there and stand and fight.
Okay. Do you believe that affordable and comprehensive health insurance should be a right and not a privilege in the United States? And this round will start with Mr. Neesmith.
Could you repeat that just one more time?
Yes. Do you believe that affordable and comprehensive health insurance should be a right and not a privilege in the U.S.?
Healthcare absolutely is a right. And that is why I stand on Medicare for all. We need a single payer system that is not basing profit on someone else's mortality. To me, that is absurd. So yes, we need a single payer system that gives a right to Americans to have health care.
Well, I'm grateful for the question. Health care is a cornerstone of all other rights. If you don't have good health care, then life itself is pretty meaningless. And right now, we have a system that is broken. I would go to Congress to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, which has provided coverage for millions of folks, and to expand coverage for the millions who are left outside of that coverage right now. Now, anybody who's on Medicaid will tell you it's not a solution itself. We need a single payer system I'm the only candidate on this stage that's fought to enact health care when I was with the American Heart and Stroke Association. I'm the only candidate on this stage who really understands that what we have is a need for health insurance reform. And I'm only candidate on this stage who's went to jail fighting for the poor folks of Georgia and particularly Bullock County who currently don't have insurance. And we could expand Medicaid right now in this state if we wanted to, but the governor and his cronies under the Golden Dome won't do it. Let's send a strong signal by sending someone who's already fought on these issues.
Okay. This one is one of the questions that were submitted tonight. What is your stance on DACA, and what would you do about it if you were to be elected? And we'll start this round with Mr. Johnson.
Well, my stance on DACA is a part of an overall stance that I've taken when it comes to immigration itself. There are two camps in this country. Those who believe that the we and we the people that's at the heart of this document, our Constitution, that should be as narrow as possible. It began with only land-owning white males. And there's another group of people who believe that we should be inclusive of as many people as possible. That's what separates conservatives from liberals, Republicans from progressives. I'm a progressive Democrat. I think that we might have all came over here on different ships, and some of us didn't even want to get on the ship in the first place. But we're all in the same boat right now. We've got to fix our broken immigration system, especially for those precious dreamers, but for all immigrants who show up legally. Do you know it takes 15 years to process a legal application for immigration on average? That's too long, and we need to fix our broken system. And I will do that in Congress.
All right.
I can tell you firsthand about a DACA recipient that works for me. I've sat with his family. I've seen the pain. He currently works for me in the Augusta area, and he literally lays down at night currently without knowing what his future holds. The kid is unbelievably impressive. I've worked with him for 3 years. I know his mother and father. Not only should we expand it from just the recipient, but also to the family that has came here. Because we do not need to be breaking up families. What are we? I mean, if we're not a country of immigrants, what are we? These people have worked extremely hard. This kid is unbelievably impressive. And I suggest to each and every one of you in here that if you don't know a DACA recipient, get to know one. And that is what I impress my conservative friends with. Get to know a DACA recipient.
Okay. Higher education is obviously an issue of importance to the residents of the 12th District. Are there any changes you would like to see to federal policies regarding higher education? If so, what? And I believe we'll start with Mr. Neesmith.
Well, the limited time I was at Georgia Southern, the Pell Grant gave me that option to be there. I think we need to expand and strengthen the Pell Grant, but I think we need to talk and start the conversation about tuition-free college, because high school education no longer is enough. This is a global economy. We live on a globe, and if we are hindering our children by assuming that a high school education is going to be enough to compete on this globe, we are sadly mistaken. So, Pell Grant and reinforcing these programs that help these kids, that your education should not be based on how much money your family has. And that's simple.
I appreciate that. I came to Georgia Southern on my grandmother's washerwoman salary. And I understand all of those struggles. I do not believe that you should be graduating with 15 times the debt that I graduated from Georgia Southern. Right. It is un-American, and the only reason why we do it is because we want certain companies to profit. This is my vision. I think we have to reimagine education. I believe that we can send our students to higher education or give them the technical training they need debt-free. I'll say it again, debt-free. And here's what I would do. Anybody ever got a call from Sally Mae? Just wave your hands.
All the time.
I don't think Sally Mae should be able to take money from our government, guaranteed loans, and loan it to us at a rate higher than the banks on Wall Street were able to get money for their bailout. So I would automatically write legislation to reduce the student loan borrowing rate to the same rate that banks borrow money to loan to us. If we did that, it would instantly put money in the pockets of middle-class, hard-working folks who went to school and who would get relief immediately from these profiteering student loan servicers who are doing nothing more than making highway robbery off of federally guaranteed loans anyway.
How do you think the U.S. government should respond to evidence that the Russian government has systematically tried to shape election results in the United States using social media technologies? Mr. Neesmith.
We obviously need to be sanctioning Russia. To be lifting sanctions in a time when we clearly know they have been cyber attacking our system, and we're going to lift sanctions. So yes, we need to do everything in our power to sanction Russia. So yes, if they're going to attack us, we need to return fire, and that's with sanctions. So yes.
Understand this. If the Russian government sent spies over to break into the physical building that the Democratic National Committee is housed in the heat, in the midst of the night, we would be outraged that foreign agents have invaded our soil and did that. That's exactly what they did, except they did it across the internet connection. And not only did they do that, I think the Mueller investigation is revealing that their infiltration went far beyond just stealing emails. What we have to send is a replacement to Rick W. Allen in the Congress, because the Congress is not beholden to the president. The Congress is a co-equal branch of government to the president. And I would insist that the Congress do its job and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the cornerstone of that is the right to a fair election. And that was not what we got in 2016.
All right, this is a question from Megan, who's in the audience tonight. Do you believe and support that reproductive care must include access to pregnancy, abortion, and contraceptive methods, including Plan B? Please, Mr. Johnson.
I believe that women's reproductive rights are the purview of women. I think for far too long, men have had too much to say about what women do with their bodies. I will defend my neighbor's right to choose, although I think abortion should be few and limited. And no woman I've ever talked to in my practice of law or counseling women who've made this decision as a pastor for the last 18 and a half years has made this decision lightly. They should be safe, they should be accessible, and I will defend a woman's right to make up her mind about her own body.
Yeah, it's clearly an attack on freedom. A woman should have the freedom to choose what exactly she wants to do with her body. And that's as simple as it gets. So as a white male, I have no reason to believe that I should influence a woman's decision on her body and how she takes care of her health. So yes, absolutely, they should have the freedom to choose what they do with their body.
Given recent tragedies like the one that occurred in Parkland, Florida, do you believe there are additional steps the federal government needs to take in respect to gun laws? If so, what would you like to see done? Mr. Neesmith?
I'm not going to sit up here and lie to any of you. The term assault weapon, it means nothing. And the NRA knows that. And they've been using that against Democrats. Because a deer rifle, semi-automatic, and a tactical weapon, semi-automatic, shoot the same round at the same speed and at the same rate. So the NRA looks at this as, hey, this weapon looks scary.
If we say, and we get them to say assault weapon ban, we sell another 10,000 guns today. So until we as Democrats figure out that if we keep saying assault weapon ban and selling weapons, that is the problem. We need standardized permitting. We need to deal with the people that own these weapons. And the state of Georgia, I have a license right here in my pocket. You must be 21. You must visit the probate judge. You must put your fingerprint on the fingerprint machine at the Bullitt County Sheriff's Department. These things need to be done, and I hope everybody stays around because I am a gun owner. I want everyone in this room, because I'm getting this red card, to stay around and let me explain to you the problem with this one topic. Because I don't know everything, but I am a gun owner, and I can explain to you Democrats how to talk to your conservative friends about it.
I won't mince words. I won't mince words at all. Enough is enough. There are 300 million guns in this country. Enough guns, more guns than cars. And Americans love their cars. We have nearly enough guns for every man, woman, and child. I don't want to send my 3 sons or watch you send your sons to schools and wonder if they're going to come home or not. The Second Amendment is important, but it doesn't trump the right to all of us to be able to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so I would say we've had a 10-year assault ban. It worked then. The number of incidents, like the ones we've seen in Parkland or the ones that we've seen in nightclubs and churches in this country, were reduced during that period. No lawful gun owners' guns was confiscated at that time. We can pass common sense gun reform. 88% of the country believes it, and I will go and fight for it, and I won't mince words when I get to Congress. Enough is enough.
Do you believe that global warming is happening, that it is significantly caused by human activity, and that the United States will serve its people well by transforming its energy policy towards more renewable sources? Mr. Johnson?
Absolutely. If you look at the news, you would think that it's a debate. It's not a debate. There are a few folks who've been bought off by the industry, by the coal-fire producing industry, to act as if this is an unsettled question. Global warming is happening. Our conduct is impacting our climate, and we're already seeing the impacts of that around the globe and here in the United States. And so I would urge us to consider the data and to use data-driven approaches to get at this. President Obama had us on the right track to reduce our impact on the climate, and I would insist that those who understand that we have one planet, those who understand that we have a trusty relationship with it, and our duty is to give to our children what we inherited: clean air, clean water, and a planet that they can live and thrive on. And it's just that simple.
It is absolutely a problem. Overwhelming numbers of climate scientists tell us that. And as a professional, if a professional tells me overwhelmingly that there is a problem, we need to do something about it. We only, I agree, have one Earth. It is the priority. Without Earth, we don't exist. So we need to be taking care of our planet for my kids that are sitting right over here and their kids. It's pretty simple to me. I don't know. I agree. I don't even know why we're still having this discussion, to be totally honest with you. All the scientists agree. And that's it.
In this area, it is common for religion and politics to mix. How are you planning on separating your religious views from your political agenda if elected? Mr. Neesmith?
My religion stays in my house. There needs to be a clear, I mean a clear divide between church and state. If we want to build a $30 billion wall, let's start there. Let's build it between church and state, because that is a dangerous road to be going down. Because whenever a religion takes priority over another religion, we see what happens in other parts of this world. So let's stand on our First Amendment. There needs to be a clear divide between church and state.
I think the way we have framed the debate about faith in the public life has largely been owned by the right. But folks like Reverend William Barber, who's led the Moral Monday campaigns across North Carolina and across the country, and I co-convened Moral Monday here in Georgia, we believe that faith has a role in the public life. I believe that our budgets are a moral document. And when you cut bread and milk to children and give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, it's a moral statement about what we believe. Government is a belief. It is by, for, and accountable to the people. And that requires that we not separate ourselves, but that we bring our whole selves. And I think it's time for faithful Democrats, faithful progressives who have something to say to the hypocritical right, who are neither right or not very Christian at all, about the things that they think are important in the public life. At the same time that I've been a pastor, I've also been a preacher and a lawyer. And I represent people of all faiths and no faith at all, because that's the best of the American tradition.
What do you believe are currently the most important challenges in the district, and what would you do as a representative to address those issues? Mr. Johnson?
Well, some of the most pressing issues are that we have a congressman, Rick W. Allen, who was not elected by the voters. Instead, his cronies at the General Assembly cut and divided this district over and over and over again until they could achieve their aim. Rick Allen picking his voters rather than the voters picking Rick Allen. So that's number one thing we've got to do, is replace Rick Allen in terms of this congressional district. Secondly, we got to make sure that we bring people together. We need to bring our mayors and our county commissions, our colleges and universities, and develop a district-wide plan of how we will leverage federal resources using all of the tools at our disposal. We have great resources. We have Fort Gordon, which is the largest cyber command in the United States arsenal. We have Georgia Southern. We have Augusta University. What amazing health and allied professional resources that we have there. In Dublin, we have one of the largest VA hospitals in the nation. We have tremendous resources. What we're missing is a vision and leadership, and I'll go get it done.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I don't have time to reinvent the game, so we've got to play the game we're on, the field that we're on. So the problem that we have currently is that Rick Allen paid for his seat. We have a money problem. That is the biggest problem that we face across the nation. And until we realize that we're being bought and paid for, the legislation and the lawmakers in D.C. are being bought and paid for. That is a country problem. That's not just a 12 problem. That is everybody's problem, because that one thing intersects with every platform piece. We can sit up here all night long talking about millions of different platform pieces, but until we acknowledge that money in the game is corrupting it, and that is simple.
How are you different from the other candidates in this race, and what makes you better for the job? Mr. Neesmith.
Well, I like to say a relatability thing. I mean, we up in Congress, and I'm going to preface this with I love my attorneys, but in Congress currently, half of the House and the Senate are attorneys, and half of the other half are millionaires and billionaires. So I think it's time we start sending blue-collar candidates to D.C. People are not your typical candidate with a candidate resume. Somebody that knows the people. I've been out here for 7 months. I didn't wait on anything. I got in because I believe somebody needed to step up and go out and talk to voters and constituents that are sitting out here right now with relatability. that know how hard it is to work, that know what they are going through when it's Friday and you can't pay the bills. That's relatability. So that's what I bring to this.
I commend Mr. Neesmith on his 7 months of relatability. I'm not new to this. I've been working in the trenches for democratic issues for the last 20 years. I didn't wait till I graduated from college. I held my first protest on this campus, and it was against the Confederate flag that flew over this campus. We marched on this campus against police brutality, and the only reason why we're able to watch diverse films at the cinema is because we protested as students on this campus and made an agreement with them so that students could have diverse films. We couldn't watch Malcolm X when it came out, but I'm glad you were able to watch the Black Panther when it did. Yeah. So I'm not new to this, but I am true to this. The Congress is no place to get trained with. You need to send somebody who is able to understand policy and legislation and be able to write some when they get there day one.
Okay, we'd like to thank Mr. Ingham for joining us. I believe Mr. Johnson was finishing up his answer to that question. Did you have anything else to add to that?
Well, I'll just say this, and thank you, and welcome, Bob. I'm glad you made it, and we welcome you to the debate. I'll just say this in terms of, like Jay-Z said, I'm not new to this, but I am true to this. And there's a reason why when people get in trouble, they come to see Francis Johnson, because they know he'll fight for them.
That's right.
I would also like to pose the same question that Mr. Neesmith and Mr. Johnson just answered to Mr. Ingham. What do you believe, how are you different from the other candidates in this race, and what makes you better for this job?
Certainly, thank you for the question. I believe I got a background in technology, communications in particular. I've got a large background in business and accounting, and also was a teacher for 26 years in 3 different counties. And that would, through the cross-training, would allow me to elaborate and be able to represent them that much better than the candidates that are present. Thank you for your question.
Okay. Due to the fact that I accidentally skipped your opening statements, we are going to up your time for your closing statements to 2.5 minutes each. We have notified our timekeeper so they are aware of this. We will, I guess, start this one with Mr. Johnson.
It's time to vote. Already? Wow. That was too quick. I think there's appetite for more questions from this
More
room.
time, more questions.
I will be hanging around for you folks, so we don't need this stage and this microphone.
Okay. Don't, I'm reclaiming my time. Let me say this. Georgia's 12th Congressional District is worth fighting for.
Yes. Yes.
And when you send folks to the swamp that is Washington, D.C., you ought to send folks who don't have any permanent friends or permanent enemies just permanent issues. And my issue will be the 719,940 citizens, my neighbors, who make up the 12th Congressional District. All 19 counties. It's a gerrymandered district. It's the most gerrymandered district in this state. I know it. I've sued this state, the Secretary of State, more than 10 times over their ridiculous, un-American practices. But if we can let the message be loud and clear from the 12th that good candidates who have the backing of their neighbors matter more than the partisan and racialized gerrymandering that's at the heart of why the 12th district is the way it is. It's worth fighting for in Augusta, the hometown of the godfather of soul, James Brown. And I promise you, I will go to Congress and get down, baby. It is worth fighting for in terms of Statesboro, the home of Irk Russell's championship fighting Eagles. And I was glad that the Eagles were fighting and winning when I was here, and I'm a sure enough blue Eagle and a blue dog Democrat at that. And so you can count on me to fight for our issues in Congress. Let me tell you something. Growing up off that farm in Sylvania, Georgia, people have talked about blue collar. We were so poor we didn't have a collar.
That's right.
So you can't demagogue me with the fact that I worked hard, struggled against the odds, got myself out of special education and into higher education, kept on fighting until I could fight for not just my rights, but the rights of other people. And if you want to fight the system, you better send someone who's taken some blows in the rain, fell down and got back up again. Send a fighter to Congress if you want to change something.
Mr. Ingham, just want to offer a closing statement or just a little bit about yourself in 2.5 minutes.
Closing statement, I got it prepared.
Okay.
Okay. I, Robert Ingham, do desire the opportunity to become a public servant representing the 12th Congressional District in the state of Georgia. Representation includes an intimate background in communications with the devices on the desktop with potential of international communications. Creativity in the automatic pin setting machine, 3 components thereof, the desktop with miniaturization of electronics that allow the current devices to be enhanced with each production of the new model. The CAT scan and its theory of practicality with the miniaturization of electronics. Fiber optics, a theory light frequency can handle far more TV channels. But my main thrust would be to represent the 12th district in the public servant, allowing constituents enough income to enjoy the bounty of our country. The businesses to thrive with potential credits to their amenities as suggested earlier. Homes to take advantage of credit for the energy efficiency and other items that may be suggested by homeowners. Agriculture, having received a number of surveys, including the ground that now exists for diminishing acreage, poor weather, labor essentials to crop production, etc. In closing, we're going to do business, industry, homes, and agriculture again. Initiate and formulate for the peaceful and productive, prosperous economy that the country should improve upon, that is not only for the affluent, but for those citizens who should enjoy more of what our district represents. I am Robert Ingham, belonging to the local neighborhood association in my local county, which is Richmond, the Boy Scout volunteer in the past, and beginning of a major component to add to the industrial base. Those are 3 items I mentioned that is very much part of our base. A teacher in 3 different counties, several of them overlapping in the last 26 years, 44 years in business, held an insurance license and a real estate license twice. Again, I'm Robert Ingham.
Mr. Smith?
I'm a husband. I'm a father. 2 beautiful children sitting right over here. I'm tired of it. I'm fed up.
and I want to turn this district back blue. I'll just cut straight to it. A vote for Team Trent in May is a win for Democrats in November. The district was deliberately drawn so that the usual suspect candidates would lose to the GOP. I am the untested, the unexpected change candidate that doesn't waver from our platform and is already bringing young and independent energy into this race. So that's why the candidate with the most hours and proportion of time spent in this district, the 12th district, not in Atlanta, not out of state. That's why I'm just a messenger for the platform that speaks to kitchen table issues and not pretending to be owed anyone's loyalty or financial support. That's why attacks from the party don't faze me or my team. Because we know they're coming from folks who don't know how to win a congressional race in 2018. While all that being said, I'm the only candidate standing on the party platform, and I'm taking it seriously. And I think about winning for what's important, not just winning for my own importance. I'll fight to turn this district back blue regardless of what happens in May. But if selected to face the GOP, there will be no amount of money the Republicans can spend to outwork me and my team. Thank you, Statesboro. I look forward to seeing you all out there on the victory trail. So get on the team at votetrend.com, everybody. Because when we show up, we win. I yield the balance of my time. Encore.
We're going to allow this time for Mr. Johnson to make a brief response.
Mr. Neesmith said that he was the only candidate who was. No, sir.
I want to rebut.
No, sir.
Okay, well,
you yielded the balance of your time. If you want to get in the ring and play politics, you ought to understand the rules.
I'll give it out.
That's right.
No, it's reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. I was recognized, sir. Mr. Neesmith.
We would ask the audience to please keep your comments to yourself. We will allow Mr. Johnson 1 minute to respond, and if Mr. Neesmith wishes, he will also be allowed 1 minute. At that point, we will conclude this.
Mr. Neesmith said something that was not true. He said he was the only candidate who was running on the Democratic platform. He is not true about that. I am a tried and true Democrat, and I have a record to prove it. Together, we registered 300,000 Democrats. And I sued the Secretary of State with other organizations like the ACLU, the Legal Defense Fund, and the New Georgia Project to make sure that those Democrats could stay on the rolls. Together, we fought serious violations of the Voting Rights Act. Together, we fought to expand Medicaid. Together, we defeated the governor's takeover of our public schools. And together, I have fought for the last 20 years for same-sex equality for all Americans. That's what I have done. That is the party platform, not words, but deeds. Thank you, sir.
Can I ask you a question?
No.
No, you can only respond and only for 1 minute, please.
Well, I haven't heard anything about cannabis tonight, and I'm a little disappointed, to be honest, that nobody asked that question, which is a platform piece. But I would like to point out that he also said something that's true. I've never seen this gentleman on a ballot, so I would say he is new to this. Thank you, and good night.
At this point, we would like to conclude this. If you are a student that needs attendance verification, we have 2 representatives in the back with orange slips. The candidates will be available to talk in the lobby if you wish to speak with them.